We just approve everything and we'll go home.
All right, we're ready, sir.
Sounds good to me. I'm down. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of December 8th, 2022. First up on this public meeting is public comment. During the public comment period, members of the public may address the Planning Commission on any matters not listed on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Is there any public comments from the audience?
Good evening, Commissioners. Chair Scott White Lewiston.
Get a phone and get three.
At your November 17th meeting, Commissioner Fall made a comment that was spot on, and I quote, "Staff did not do what they needed to do within the timeframes," end quote. And not only that, there is no provision in county code that allows staff to bring the determination of complete to the Planning Commission. Our application was automatically complete by action of county code on October 7th. Staff cannot change that nor bring that to you for a decision. Furthermore, staff has never treated our application as complete as they are required to do by county code. That's violation 1 of our rights. Rather than give up, I presented 2 proposals to staff to finish our project. One would have been allowed to finish it with staff. The other would have been bring back to you for final decision. We have been consistent for months now that we expected to have a final decision here on December 8th. There's reasons for that I don't have time to go into tonight. But we have been hurt again by staff's selective application of county code. Another example of how staff is hurting the whites. On November 28th, staff informed me that our project had not been placed on the December 8th meeting agenda and that noticing requirements that could therefore not be met. I pointed out that noticing requirements have not been met for any of the project on tonight's agenda, but I've received no response from staff on that point. County Code 17-34050 covers notice of hearings and all are shall requirements. Section B is for surrounding property owners. Section C is newspaper. Section A, placing notice at the closest post office to each project. None of the project notices were placed at the post office as required as a shall by county code. So it seems to be that staff's criteria for tonight is, hey, if we got 2 out of 3, that's okay, you can still show up. So everybody else that's here, the 5 projects are on the agenda, get to be on the agenda. They didn't meet noticing requirements, it was staff, not them, but we don't get to be on the agenda. The issue is code doesn't allow any choice. All 3 notices are mandatory by code. Their projects are on the agenda, ours is not. Violation 2 of our rights. We're 4 months along now after we met with the county and both sides agreed to completely follow the rules. We have done everything we were required to do. The county has not. Who is responsible for training and monitoring county staff, for holding them accountable? The Brown Act doesn't allow you to talk about our project tonight, but you can provide direction to your staff. I asked you to direct your staff to bring our project back to you for action at your next meeting. Please help us get our project finished. I'm not trying to stop the action of others tonight, even though technically it's not allowable. I don't want them to be hurt by this, but I want the rules to be applied to everyone equally and fairly. I've always said that from the very first day I walked in to turn in my application. I follow the rules, the county doesn't. Please direct your staff to place our project on your meeting agenda for your next meeting so that we can come back and finally get our project finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Is there any more public comment from the audience? Is there any public comment via Zoom?
Dana Hauser.
Hello, Chair and Board. To answer that question, is it not the CAO's job to hold the county department heads accountable? That's the answer there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hauser. Is there any more public comment?
I don't see any.
Okay. If there is no more public comment, we are going to close public comment and move on to item 1, which is the minutes for 2017. All were present. Oh, I'm sorry. Is Commissioner Fall
She's on Zoom.
on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Commissioner Fall. Do we have a motion to approve or amend the minutes for November 17th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Commissioner Barrett
I'll second that.
puts a motion. Commissioner Heaton seconds that motion. Okay. All those in favor? Or should we do a roll call since there's Zoom? Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Heaton, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fall, how do you vote? I can't get it. I don't mind to ask to unmute tonight.
Technology.
Aye. There she is. Thank you. Vice Chair McIntosh,
Aye.
thank you. Unanimous.
Okay. Moving on to item number 2, the extension of the time report, P-22-18, a request for an extension of time for a 4 parcel and 1 remainder parcel tentative parcel map, P-17-36. This is the first extension of time application submitted to the Trinity County Planning Department. The project's site is located at 420 Blake Mountain Trail, High Palm, APN 011-210-035. Applicant K. Yordanov, pardon me. Planner Miss Fisher, would you like to give us an overview? Thank you.
Thank you, Planning Chair, Commissioners, and members of the public. My name is Skylar Fisher, Associate Planner with the Planning Department, and I'm going to speak to item number 2, which is project number P-22-18, an extension of time requests for tentative parcel map P-1736. If the site sounds familiar, this project went to the Planning Commission at the last meeting where it was determined that this tentative map was eligible for an extension of time requests. So this is the Planning Department bringing that request forward to you. As some history for the tentative parcel map, in July 2018, the Trinity County Board of Supervisors approved P-1736, which approved the mitigated negative declaration, the tentative parcel map, and amended the zoning ordinance to change the zoning district from unclassified to rural residential with a 20-acre minimum. So if you go to the end of the maps in your packet and you see the parcel and it's like, why is it still unclassified? It hasn't changed in our GIS yet, but that was approved by the Board of Supervisors. As a little bit of history on the site and the project, as I said previously, there was a bit of confusion on the expiration of the map, and due to staff turnover, the pandemic, and some other issues, it was determined by the Planning Commission that the map should not be expired and should be eligible for an extension request. And based on those delays, as well as when the map was originally approved, the Planning Department is recommending that this be a 2-year extension because this doesn't exceed the amount of time allowable for a tentative parcel map to be processed. It gives enough time to work through any issues. Obviously, we're hoping that we don't have any other turnover issues or other big problems, but we're hoping to give as much flexibility as possible so we can finish this project up. And that is consistent with the Subdivision Map Act, which although the initial period for a tentative map before it expires is 24 months, extensions are allowed for up to 6 years in total. And so when we're looking at consistency of the project with CEQA, staff finds that extending the time allowed to work on this map is exempt from CEQA, so there doesn't need to be an additional document prepared. This falls under the scope of the original initial study mitigated negative declaration that was prepared by the board in 2018. So all of that being said, staff recommends that the Planning Commission move to find the project to be categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15301B3, adopt resolution number PC 2022-16, and approve a 2-year extension of time for tentative parcel map P1736 based on findings that the extension of time can be granted in accordance with the Subdivision Map Act. There is no evidence that would necessitate a denial of an extension. I think it's pretty clear that the applicant is interested in pushing this project forward. He's here tonight with his agent. In addition, the map is currently substantially same to the original, and the required improvements or the required extension is necessary for the map to go forward. And that would be as described in, and so it's consistent with the resolution, 2018-042 and Exhibit A, the conditions of approval, which are attached. So thank you, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Is there any questions for staff from this commission? Is Commissioner Fall unmuted if she wanted to ask a question?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, if there is no more questions, we will bring it to public comment. Is there any public comments on this matter? Any public comments on Zoom? Okay, in that case, we'll close public comment. And would the applicant like to come and answer some questions or present a comment?
Hi, I'm Krasimir Yordanov, applicant of that project, trying to push forward many years. And now this exactly is for 2 more years extension, how I understand, because we have one more thing to discuss after time extension, yes? Because all of us, we're trying to finish that project, but somewhere somebody just like they don't finish that project and to put over and over and over again, then, but I guess we're gonna talk about that after time extension approved for next point of schedule or what, just in a few minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Yordanov. If you may stay up there to answer any questions. Is there any questions from this commission to Mr. Yordanov? Okay, if there is no more questions, we're going to close it to public comment. Thank you for your statement. And we're going to bring it back to the commission for discussion. Do we have a motion on the table that someone would like to present before discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Fall.
So I move that the Planning Commission find that the project to be categorically exempt from the CEQA pursuant to Section 15301, Paragraph B, Paragraph 3. Adopt resolution number PC-2022-16 and approve a 2-year extension of time for tentative parcel map P-17-36 based on the recommended findings and subject to the conditions of approval found in Trinity County Board of Supervisors Resolution number 2018-042 and Exhibit A, conditions of approval.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second for this motion?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. Now we'll open it up for discussion. Is there any discussion from my fellow commissioners?
My opinion is like, he's been held up long enough. Let's get this ball rolling.
Very much agree.
Okay, if there is no more discussion, we'll close the discussion and bring it to a roll call.
Commissioner Barrett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fall, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Heaton, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Vice Chair McIntosh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. 4-0 to approve the staff recommendation as stated.
Thank you. We will now move on to item number 3, subdivision modification request, P-21-41. A request for a post-approval modification of conditions on the 4 parcel and 1 remainder parcel tentative parcel map P-17-36 regarding road design standards. This application is submitted pursuant to the Trinity County Subdivision Ordinance, Chapter 16.50. The project site is located at 420 Blake Mountain Trail, High-Palm, APN 011-210-035. Applicant Chris Yordanoff. Planner Ms. Fisher, please provide us the overview. Thank you.
Thank you, Planning Chair, Commissioners, and members of the public. My name is Skylar Fisher, Associate Planner with the Planning Department. I'm going to speak to item 3, which is project number P-21-41. This is a post-subdivision modification request of tentative parcel map P-17-36. So it's in reference to the time extension for the previous project we just discussed. So we just kind of got a brief overview of the tentative parcel map, so I won't go too much into that. Over the course of the past 24 hours, there have been some developments on this application request which aren't in your staff report, and I think are what Mr. Yordanov was speaking to when he last spoke. So this application request is to modify the road width length over about 108 feet, and that road goes over a dam. So it has been found that it'd be very difficult to increase the width to 18 feet without having to do major reconstruction and work on the dam that exists there presently. So after working with CAL FIRE, who actually checked out the site and determined that with turnouts, they were comfortable with having it just at 16 feet over that length. Planning department staff reached out to the Department of Water Resources to ensure that the dam was non-jurisdictional and not within their purview. They said, good, dam seems fine, and as well as seeing if that length of road, having that width, being fine with DOT, which DOT confirmed that that was okay. The concern that has come up is that when a tentative map is approved, there is that 2-year time frame to refine the map and to meet all of the conditions set out on that tentative parcel map. Over the course of those revisions, there are sometimes, or oftentimes all the time, revisions to the map itself to make sure that it's consistent with the conditions, and that's fine and doesn't even need to go to the Planning Commission if it's found to be a minor modification of the map, because that's just sort of how things go about. So the map that is in the packet, so you should have 2 maps now that kind of show the parcel map. So the one that's stapled all in, that's the one that went to the board and was approved. It's kind of towards the back, it has coloring, it has like a green map in the corner. The second map is an additional map that was submitted, kind of working through the conditions, the reality of where the road is going to be, that sort of thing. There is concerns that with the new configuration of the roads, that in itself may qualify as a major modification. So a modification that would come to you in the same way that the modification of that 108 feet road width change is coming to presently. So because of that, and because of the fact that planning staff became aware of that concern fairly recently, planning is recommending that rather than adopting the resolution as is now, that instead this item be continued to the next meeting in January, so that all possible concerns that could qualify as a major subdivision modification, such as this, all be captured in one application, rather than getting through this one now and then potentially getting through a hitch through the tentative map review process and then needing another modification in the future. At the very least, staff believes that we need a little bit of further review with this new information and to kind of smooth out any concerns with the current road configuration. So all of that being said, I'll just restate staff's recommendation is for the Planning Commission to move this item, or to continue this item, excuse me, to the next Planning Commission hearing. And I can answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Is there any questions from the commission?
How major are these modifications that we're looking at?
So currently, this map was submitted, I believe, in 2019. And so I was forwarded some emails from DOT of discussions from staff members, none of them that are still with the department, saying when they were looking at this map and the location of the roads compared to the original tentative map, that there could be a potential that it qualifies as a major modification of the map itself. And so the discussion there was that they were going to refer it to the Planning Commission. And so my mission today was I was going through a bunch of Planning Commission records. I was tearing apart the files. I was trying to see if there was a determination made either way. Either it went to Planning Commission or potentially DOT or the planning director made a decision on this, but I couldn't find anything. And I reached out to the applicant and agent, and we were on the phone back a little bit, just trying to see what had been said then. And so to answer your question, at this point, we're not sure. I plan to schedule a meeting with the planning department, the applicant and agent, and get DOT and the county surveyor all in a room and kind of have a discussion about this, so that in my mind, ideally, we can come forward and we can say, okay, here are all these players that have kind of come in at different points in this project, and let's see where it's at, and let's put everything together, rather than potentially coming to you now and then having to come to you later and then having to come to you even further down the line. Because at this point, it kind of seems like it's being kicked down, and that's not what we want to do. We kind of want to tackle everything at once, is my opinion. So.
Thank you. Is there any more questions for staff? Okay. If there's no more questions for staff, we'll close out this section and bring it to public comment. Is there any public comment within the audience?
Good evening, commissioners. Eric Keys, Weaverville. I'm representing Chris today. I'm not going to really go into trying to persuade you one way or the other how we should go about this. I just want to bring attention to some ongoing issues we've had with certain county staff. And I'm going to say DOT staff. Today we received politely a letter from, or an email from Skylar saying that Andy Pence with DOT is taking, not offense, but he wants to to delay the project further. And he waited till like 2 hours before the meeting to send that email, or probably earlier today to you, but late today, we got the email. We submitted the application a year ago. This could have been worked out many months ago. Could have been worked out last year. And we're just tired of the last minute, there needs to be some accountability. And I'm not seeing any accountability because it's been a repeat offense from that department. I guess that's all I really have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, would you mind staying to answer some questions?
Yes.
Does the commission have any questions for this agent? If I may, this map that was presented, that was not in the staff report, was that filed a year ago with the application? This updated map?
I'm not aware of the updated maps. So what happened was Butler Engineering created the original tentative parcel map and then also created the final map and then they submitted it. We brought into the equation when the subdivision modification request was asked for, in particular the dam and that narrow road section.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a hydraulic study, we surveyed the road, we did a dam analysis, we brought out the geologists and put together a bunch of paperwork showing how we were going to address the concerns around that dam. But as far as the actual map submittals, I can't speak to that because that was Butler Engineering.
That was Butler. And so,
Correct. And their surveyor has since passed away. So somebody's going to have to pick up the torch of the final map, another surveyor, to finish the project.
okay, thank you. Is there any more questions for the agent? Right on. Thank you, Mr. Keys.
Thank you. Yes, correct. This map that I have here is the parcel map that was submitted by Butler Engineering. Nate, do you remember when? My understanding is this was submitted in September of 2018 and that it was approved as submitted just with the modification request. We were unaware of the request about the entire road alignment needing to be in the modification until today. The only one we were aware of was the modification request for the dam, and we did extensive work on that to prepare the documents necessary for your decisions on granting that modification.
And so you are an engineer,
Correct.
Mr. Keys?
Yes.
And so
Licensed civil.
licensed civil engineer. And so the company is Trinity River Consulting and Engineering.
Trinity Valley Consulting.
Trinity Valley, yeah, thank you. Has done the engineering for the dam road and this project, and you feel that it is safe and sound and within the organization's best judgment, complete?
Correct, for the modification of the narrow road section over the dam.
Mm-hmm.
There was some improvements that we still have to make, one of them being the overflow culvert coming out of the dam. But that was the only change that needs to happen at that location, and install pullouts on both sides.
Right.
Pullouts are there, they just need to be graded off.
Which is not on the table today. It's just this widening of this section.
I think what's on the table today is they want to push it to the next meeting so that we can have further discussion of including the entire road alignment in the modification, because the parcel map that you have, the alignment is different than the original tentative parcel map that was submitted in 2017, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Keys.
So the road location is just different. The road location physically on the site has not changed. It's been in the same location for 50 years. It just didn't get mapped correctly in the tentative phase. It got corrected later.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any more public comment from the audience?
Hi, Commissioners and all. Nathaniel Gravett, Trinity Valley Engineering, representing Chris. I don't have a whole lot more to say than has been hashed out already, but I just kind of wanted to hammer it deeper. The project is 6 years old. I submitted this subdivision modification request about the levee and the road in December of 2021, a year ago. We did not hear about this other condition requiring potentially another major modification until 2 hours ago. It's absurd and ridiculous. As far as that condition goes, as Eric said, the tentative map looks like the road was drawn maybe schematically from aerial photography. It's vague, tangent links are given, and it was updated for the parcel map that was submitted in 2018. All this information has been in the hands of the county at least that long. 2 hours ago, we heard about this from DOT. As far as a major subdivision modification goes, and regarding the alignment of this road, when a parcel map is recorded, there is a certificate statement to be required by the county engineer. And that language on that statement says that he agrees that this parcel map substantially agrees with the conditions of the tentative map. The word being substantial. It's not defined in law, per what I have ever found. It's somewhat of a vague term, left to discretion. And as far as we can see is that the only difference is that the alignment of the road is slightly different, more articulated, on a road that has existed for 50 years or plus and has not changed. Is that substantial or not? I think it's ridiculous myself. I guess that's all I have to say. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more public comment from the room? Applicant, yes, please, come forward.
Good evening again. Then I just want to say that that being happened over and over and over with that project. Exactly that I'm trying to tell you 1 year with every planning commission. Every time when we have to have some approval or some going forward, Andrew Pence, they don't like to say the name, but Andrew Pence from DOT take out some card of somewhere and say, oh, the regulation says that and that and that, and now I need you to do that and that and that. And we're going back and we start doing that and that and that. If we're not asking anything, if we're not submitting anything, if we're not pushing, just a real push, nothing from him, nothing from no one. Once we're pushing and we're getting to some point, he's ready. He's always ready to stop us. And he's getting that again. And I'm assuring you, whatever happened tonight or next meeting, he's going to have more and more and more things to present every time. I don't want to think that it's a personal. To me, seems like it. I don't know why. Maybe he don't like immigrants or he don't like people who don't speak perfect English but I'm assuring you for 6 years in Trinity County, I did more than he did for his 20 years here, or I don't know even how many years for community, for the county. I paid more taxes than he ever gonna pay until he is retired. And for sure, I made more projects
Let's please,
successful than he.
sir, let's
Stop.
please not make this personal. Let's keep it to the project.
To
I
me,
understand you're
it's like
passionate.
this.
Let's keep it to the project.
Okay, I don't know any more what else to say,
Okay.
because everything by professionals, by the rules, we're doing always. But all of a sudden, it's always something more to do. Then that's all I have to say.
Thank you,
Because
Mr. Yordana.
That is personal to me because it's hurting my projects, my feelings, and already it's just, I'm not gonna give up just because. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there more public comment?
Chris Weaverville, Chris Williams, I have a last name. Not like Cher. 6 years ago, I was still in my 30s. This is ridiculous. I'm no longer in my 30s. This 6 years is a long ways to wait. This is a good man. This is a good project. He's done literally every single thing in all the right ways. And yet the goal just post keeps moving and moving and moving. And the fact that they got this information 2 hours ago, that should just be thrown out with a little bit of a laugh. And we have amazing engineers here on behalf of Chris. I'm just here in support of Chris's project, and let's stop entertaining more time. In 6 more years, I'll be almost 50. I would like to be done with this topic by then. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. If there is no more public comment from the chambers, is there public comment via Zoom?
I don't see any.
In that case, we're going to close public comment and bring it back to the commission for a motion.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a technical question?
Go ahead.
Is it within the purview of the planning commission to just move forward with this current, the previous staff recommendation, the one that was presented in the staff report, and essentially resolve the question now whether or not this is a minor or a major modification? I mean, is that something that we can do?
Yeah, that's a question for staff or county council. Is that within the purview of our commission to be able to make that? Can we try to attempt to contact county council? Is Mr. Pence available? He's not present.
Online.
He's not present in this
No, he's not
discussion
in the room, but he's not on.
and not on Zoom either, huh? Okay.
So I guess my question is, if we don't continue this application, if we go ahead and recommend that the project, the
Be
post,
approved.
the post
Yeah.
modification subdivision modification of the road across the dam, if we make that motion, then will the staff still then pursue the question of whether or not any other changes to the road layout are a major modification, or does that end that question?
Can you answer, Ms. Fisher?
So the reason why staff is recommending that we continue this rather than to say like, okay, we acknowledge that this is a minor modification, is because if it's later determined that any change of the road, I understand that the road was there, that's what was said, but compared to the tentative map to this map, and that by staff is determined to be substantial, or we take it to the planning commission to ask if it's substantial. We rather this all be in one application rather than like there be conversation like later down the line of there needing to be like another post modification request.
But I think what Commissioner Fall is saying, why don't we bypass that, save your workload and just say it's good. They have engineers, they've got CAL FIRE reports. Why don't we not prolong this any further for this poor applicant and just call it good tonight?
The road's been there for 50 years.
They've had 6 years to look at this information, and to file it 2 hours before the meeting tonight, I think is just completely ridiculous. And there's no way that should be reflected on the applicant, and we should get finished with it once and for all.
I guess what we're wondering is of our power within the commission to be able to move forward on this project and to, I'm not really sure how to articulate it in terms of
Bring it to closure.
well, yes, bring it to closure, but to put to rest that it is not a substantial modification, that there really is no modification because the road has been there for 50 years. The map has been there since 2018. There is no modifications. Maybe my terminology of understanding of what a modification, my understanding is a change from the applicant. It doesn't seem like there has been any change. That's what we're, that's what we'd like to discuss to be able to move forward since the road has not moved and the applicant is not asking for any change.
So Chair, I guess I would like to make a motion that we find the project to be categorically exempt from CEQA pursuant to section 15301. We adopt resolution number PC-2022-17, and that we approve the post-subdivision modification request to allow the 108-foot stretch of road over the dam to be 16 feet in length with turnouts on both sides. That's my motion, and then I have a follow-up.
What do you mean by a follow-up?
I would like to express the consensus of the Planning Commission that any other changes to the map that would address the road alignment are which should be considered a minor modification.
Okay.
So not as a motion per se, but just as an expression of our consensus.
Yep, I'll get behind that. I'll second that.
Yeah.
There's a Commissioner Fall makes a motion and Commissioner Barrett seconds that. And so let's open it for discussion.
All right. Well, everything has been said so far, but it was like there's bureaucracy is killing the country. That's just truth. And it goes from Trinity County up to federal levels. And you know what? Let's make it easy for people. That's my take in the matter. It's like, let's make things as easy, as streamlined as possible. It's like, you know what? County dropped the ball when it was like they submitted the thing 2 hours ago saying we got an issue. It's like, well, deadline passed. It's like, you're too late on putting in your 2 cents on that, in my opinion. And so I say, let's get this thing passed so Mr. Yoganov can continue on.
I recognize the staff is doing the best job they have with the resources that they have. And sometimes timeframes, I mean, it's challenging, and so I wouldn't say that people are dropping the ball. They're trying to do the best with what they have, but there are definitely timeframes that have been passed, reasonable timeframes, is my perspective on it,
I'll accept that
with support of our
that
county.
review, because it's like, okay, I can go along with that, but
Insane.
there's been enough time to pass
Mhm.
for water to go under the bridge that
Microphone, please.
there's been enough water under the bridge per se to that it's time to continue on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll retract that where I said that we county dropped the ball and all that stuff. I'll be more diplomatic. So thank you.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Is there any more any more comment? Sean Cameron?
From County Council.
You may
Thank-
need time to come up to speed, though. You just talked
Thank you,
about-
Sean. Commissioner Fall, would you mind expressing your perspective and your articulation on this matter like you did just a few moments ago?
Thank you. My question was, what is it within the planning commission purview to make a decision or a recommendation to the staff that we consider the issues related to the road alignment, not exactly matching the map, to be a minor modification?
For clarity, Mr. Cameron, and I think your microphone is muted. This road has been here for 50 years. They're not making any modifications, but the map has changed and there is some changes in the map with more detailed that adds more detail to the road, the map. And there is, the staff says that there is need for the possibility of a major modification of this map.
Okay. Yeah, can you tell me the scenario again? Sorry.
He just got on a couple seconds ago.
Yeah.
Skylar.
You want me to give a shot?
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Mr. Cameron?
Yeah.
What has transpired here is we have a road on this parcel, on this subdivision, and the road has been in existence for 50 years.
Okay.
They're still planning on using the same roads with no modifications, except for what was originally discussed of a turnout right before the 108 feet crossing a dike, a bridge going across the pond. And those were everything was approved by CAL FIRE. Everything was approved in at the last minute because they were informing us that they believe that the original map was taken off of aerial photographs instead of mapped out, but they're continuing to use the exact same road with no modifications whatsoever to it. And they have straightened, the new map has come out to where it's just a little bit different from the old one. And the new map that came out was 3 years ago, but it's like the new map that has come out was a slightly different from what the aerial photos show. And so since the road has been there for 50 years with no modifications to the road, and just the map shows a little bit different, and they're going to continue to use the road as is, the commission is asking if it's okay that we say that this is a minor modification and we don't have to worry about because the road has already been in existence for 50 years.
Is it within our power as the commission?
Yeah, that's within your purview. Yeah.
Okay. So, thank you, Mr. Cameron. So this could be added to the motion.
Thank you. So I would amend my motion to add that the issues related to the alignment of the road would be considered a minor modification.
I'll still second it.
Do we need to be more specific? Is that specific enough?
Would you say that the roads are substantially the same?
I would.
I would. Yeah. Is there clarity for that motion that the staff would need?
Maybe, because if the intent is to say that this is not a significant change to the map, that would warrant another modification request, then that would be because the road configuration is substantially the same, I would say. So if that's the intent, then I would say, we approve this modification request as written in the resolution. In addition, the parcel map from dated, and then you can say like September 28th, 2018, the roads are substantially same as the original. I think that's maybe what
the spirit behind what we're saying. Yes. Do you concur, Commissioner Fall?
I do.
Mhm. Okay. And is that motion in captured and clear for staff? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'm still making it clear for myself. So, okay. So now there is discussion. Do we have any discussion on this resolution? I mean, on this motion?
My personal opinion is like, if the road has been there for 50 years, let's get her going. It's like, why hold it up?
It's been surveyed. It's been engineered. It's been here.
If it's been here 50 years, it'll probably be here another 50 years.
There are tons of illegal subdivisions where people are just selling off properties and stuff. This individual, Mr. Yordanoff, is diligently wanting to move forward on doing it, making it a legal subdivision in a town where there's not many. I mean, this is just generally speaking, but a lot of the buildings, a lot of stuff does not go through the county. A lot of stuff is unpermitted because it's so far away. And so I respect any individual that's willing to utilize the county protocol for getting things permitted so far from the county seat. If there is no more discussion from the commission, let's close it and bring it to a vote via roll call.
Commissioner Barrett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fall, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Heaton, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Vice Chair McIntosh, how do you vote?
Aye.
We have 4-0 for the original staff recommendation to find the project categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, Section 15301, to adopt the resolution PC 2217 and to approve the post-subdivision modification request to allow the 108-foot stretch of road over the dam to be 16 feet in length with turnouts on both sides, and that the commission finds that the road map submitted for the original project in 2017 and the additional map submitted in September of 2018.
Yes.
Was it 2018?
We could say it was dated just to catch it, because that's what it says on the map, but I don't know exactly like what date it was submitted.
Date on the map was September of 2018. And they find that the commission finds that the roads are substantially the same. Does that catch that, Commissioner Fall?
I believe so.
That sounds clear to me. Right on.
And
Mr.
I'll
Yordanoff,
review the
forward.
video.
We hope not to see you here again soon.
I just want to praise Skylar for all her good work.
Yes, you may. Yes, you may.
That's all I want to do. Because
Yes, you may.
she's been a rock star in getting these projects, and she's looking at a lot of projects. They're all on her desk.
Beautiful.
And good job, Skylar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keys. Okay, moving on to item number 4, the appeal of the director's decision P-22-29, an appeal of the planning director's decision on approve commercial cannabis cultivation license CCL 651 pursuant to Trinity County Code Section 17.34.110A. The project parcel is located at 1598 Indian Creek Road, Douglas City, APN 015-180-045. Applicant, Simai Sabankaya. I apologize for the pronunciation. Planner, Ms. Fisher will present this. item that is continued from November 17th.
Given the large load that is on her desk, I took this project over. So I'm the presenter on this one.
Fine, Bella.
I'm Bella, Cannabis Code Compliance. So we have a presentation for this one.
Well, I'm moving your presentation. I'm not getting your share though. Here, I'll let you drive. That's what I missed.
The rest are continued, right?
Yeah. You're a rock star tonight. You're just plowing through this stuff. You're amazing. Don't know how much I hope we got you. Thanks. January.
Okay.
Maybe I'm Joey.
Oh, I got it.
You got it? Okay.
That's a big shoes to fill, man.
All righty, we got it all set up. Good evening, Commission. So this item has been continued from the November 10th and November 17th meeting to allow staff additional time to investigate the 6 reasons for appeal and also to perform an additional site inspection to verify those issues. So CCL 651 was first issued in 2020. The license was scheduled for issuance on October 20th and the appeal was submitted on October 19th. Staff has prepared a brief presentation regarding the review of CCL 651 and staff's findings from investigating the reasons for appeal. Okay. So the project is located on a private road off of Indian Creek Road in Douglas City. The project is for a 10,000 square foot mixed light cultivation license. The project elements include 6 permitted greenhouses for mature canopy, 3 temporary hoop houses for immature plants, 2,200 square foot building for storage, harvest, processing, 10 by 10 chemical storage shed, compost waste facility or compost area, permitted well, septic, water storage tanks, a permitted temporary RV, and that the applicant is using while they construct their 1,500 square foot dwelling. So the site inspection and completeness review procedures are designed to verify the application compliance with Trinity County Code Section 17.43, which is commercial cannabis cultivation regulations. The first site inspection was performed on April 28th, following, and then the completeness review was done in-house on August 11th. And the application and any deficiencies that were found on the site visit were completed on August 15th, 2022. And then we also, as I said earlier, performed a secondary inspection on the 29th of November to verify these complaints. And then on the CEQA side, LACO Associates, who's an environmental consultant that the county has hired to review our environmental documents, gave a compliance memorandum on September 26th to the county. And then our internal staff, our environmental compliance staff reviewed that on the 27th, or, previously to that they reviewed it, but then on the 27th, they recommended approval of the project to the director. And this review, in short, is designed to verify the project and associated documentation is appropriately tiered from our programmatic EIR. And I also believe that we have one of our environmental compliance staff online in case there is any specific questions related to that. So the appellant submitted 6 reasons for appeal, and I'm going to briefly walk through each one and what we found from those. So the first reason is the appellant received a notice of violation from the State Water Board in February 2021, which resulted in them being required to make some major improvements on their private road. The finding for this is that this is essentially a civil matter that the county does not have jurisdiction over. I reached out to DOT staff to confirm that because they are the regulatory authority on roads in our county. So it's a finding on that. So whether there is a financial liability or anything else, that should be a civil matter is what I'm going forward with. Okay, the second claim is that the applicant cultivated commercial cannabis without a county or state license. Unlawful commercial cannabis cultivation is investigated based on complaint submissions or through county staff observation. Commercial cannabis was not observed on either of the site inspections that we performed this year. And then the appellant also submitted in their letter that that their business partner submitted 3 complaints, and we found absolutely no evidence of that. So we had no opportunity to investigate those things. And then the DCC inspector complaint. So we did receive an email from a DCC inspector with a really grainy image of claims of illegal cultivation. And at that time, that was early June. And to be honest with you guys, we were onboarding a lot of staff then. And we also just didn't have substantial evidence in that situation. So given our priorities at the time and the evidence that was provided, we didn't have the availability to go out immediately investigate it. But again, we've been on that site twice this year. So in the end, we don't have concrete evidence that they were unlawfully cultivating. So then the third reason for the appeal is that the applicant does not meet the legal dwelling requirement. The legal dwelling requirement is outlined in Trinity County Code section 17.43050A3, which states that, cultivation of cannabis in any amount of quantity in the following areas cannot be approved if they do not have a legal parcel without a legal dwelling or without an active building permit. So this project meets this requirement because they took the necessary steps to obtain and issued an active building permit for a dwelling. And I put the building permit number in the slide for you and in the presentation. And they also successfully obtained a director's use permit prior to the day that we were going to issue the license. And let's see, right, that isn't around the same time we were going to issue the license. They obtained a director's use permit for that RV. So the fourth claim is that the project does not have a legal water source on site. I outlined the code section that this regulates, or that this is regulated through. The project met this requirement by obtaining and constructing a legal well that they obtained their water from. And I included attachments of the evidence of that well and the evidence that that water is being transported from the well to the storage tanks. And then the fifth claim is that the applicant has been receiving deliveries of water that is not in compliance with Trinity County Code section 17.43060C. That's that same code section as before. So staff has concluded that the applicant did receive water deliveries, but given that the applicant's explanation for the deliveries was not for cultivation purposes, the division finds that this site is in compliance because they claimed that they were, we seek to have a fair process in this. So if someone is accused of something, then we want to make sure that we ask the applicants of, okay, well, you're accused of this. We show evidence of this. Why did you do this? And then their response is, well, it was for residential and fire suppression purposes. then that's just out of my jurisdiction. I don't have, it goes too deep into hearsay at that point. So we performed, on the site inspection, we can see where those images were taken from the appellant. That happened, the water delivery happened, but because the purposes were outside of cultivation, it's not in the division's jurisdiction. And then the sixth claim is that the subject parcel has been supplied an unlawful 400 amp electrical service. And that's just not true. So through you would have to obtain a building permit in order to get that upgrade. And then the power company would have to approve that as well. So I talked to the building department. They don't have a permit for it. I also went out there and made sure I'm not a building inspector and I'm not an electrician. So I went out there and I took pictures of the electrical box that's supplying all of their permitted greenhouses and their building, or their ramada that they're converting into a storage unit and processing unit. But anyways, I took pictures of them and I gave it back to the building department, and they said that is incompliant, and they do not have a 400 amp service. They have a 200 amp service. And then this appeal received 2 comments. One was from the Bureau of Land Management, who owns 2 adjacent parcels around the project site. Environmental compliance staff has reviewed and addressed all of their concerns, and we sent that over to them on November 30th. And then the second letter we received was from the third neighbor that uses the shared private road in support of approval of the license. So that's included in a memo. Did you guys receive that?
Yes.
Okay. So given that all complaints received in the appellant's letter were found to be unsubstantiated, staff recommends that the Planning Commission make a motion to deny the appeal, P-2229, upholding the director's decision to approve CCL 651 with the findings referenced in the staff report. And then the applicant is not here, but his agent, Joe Harrier, is here. He's on Zoom. Okay, and Skylar's on Zoom. And to answer any questions that I'm not able to. And we also have environmental compliance staff, and we have Drew Poblani on as well, and Sean Cameron.
Thank you, Ms. Hadke. Is there any questions from the commission for staff?
So I have
Okay.
a question. Sorry, I have a question.
Yep.
So, so the applicant's original permit was issued in 2020, correct?
Correct.
So they were out of compliance then until recently, as far as having a residence on site. They did not have a residence with that original permit or license. Is that correct?
I'd have to go look at the file right now, so I can keep that question in mind and I can check it out where they were
Well-
at, but they might have had
well,
an active
you're-
building permit at the time.
So your staff report says the building permit was issued in April 2022, and the director's use permit was issued on October 27th, 2022. So that would mean that during the initial cultivation season in 2020, they did not have a residence on site, right?
Well,
A legal residence according to
Yeah.
the code.
I know that the site has had some unique difficulties with the dwelling requirement, and I don't know for sure if that was compliant at the time without looking at the file.
I see Drew has his hand raised. Maybe Drew can help me figure this out.
Good evening, commissioners. My recollection is that I think Bella referenced there was a Ramada on site, and the applicant may be able to speak to this, but my recollection is that they removed the mobile from under the Ramada to make some modifications or to alter the Ramada, which I think then they sort of lost their previous dwelling. Does that make sense to you, Commissioner Hall?
Did they have a director's use permit for that earlier RV?
My recollection again is that it would have been a permitted, not RV, but modular home with a Ramada on top.
Correct. So what Drew is recounting is that they previously had, sorry if I'm just repeating what he said, but that they previously had a mobile home on site, and I don't know what transpired to make it so that they removed that Ramada or the mobile home from underneath the Ramada. Therefore, it doesn't meet the snow load, so you don't meet the dwelling requirement. So, sorry, the echo threw me off. So they had to work on finding an alternative dwelling. And they've been issued a building permit for that. And then they're using, looks like Skylar has some input as well. Skylar Douglas.
Cool. Well, we'll wait until we're done with staff and then we'll bring it to the applicant.
Okay.
Is there any more questions for staff at this point? Okay. Is there,
Someone has it unmuted that's like listening to the commission.
okay, we're gonna now open it up to public comment. Is there any public comment from the quarters?
I'm Barry Himmelstein representing the.
Oh, wait, Mr. Hemmenstein, we're gonna have it, we'll do Zoom after the in-person public comments. You'll have
My
your.
apologies.
Hello, how you guys doing? My name is Joe Harrier. I am one of the owners of 1598 Indian Creek and CCL 651. I can also answer some questions about that Ramada situation. I met Sky about 12 years ago, went into business with him last year after he's owned this property for 5 or 6. He's held a license. This would be his 3rd renewal. We went into business in December together, at which point we both had newborns. It's been an interesting year. And we have had to do everything we could possibly do for the compliance. We've had every entity of the county come by, Fish and Game, federal, fire. We've had inspections twice. We've had engineers, we've had biologists, we've had everything there. We've ensured that everything on our site has been compliant. CEQA is 130 pages of very hard work, and we did not think it was going to take a year, but here we are a year later. We've overcome every battle. And as far as the Ramada goes, in 2020, the trailer is a 72-foot Broadmoor modular home, 2 bedrooms. It sat under the Ramada, at what point Sky took it out because he didn't know it didn't meet the snow load, which ended in 1976, so 2 years later. And at that point, Jeff had come out and said, you guys have to be compliant. And then we got the permit for the building. So any other questions, you can ask Skylar or Darren's on there as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there more public comment from the hall?
Evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Tom Belenko, Douglas City. This is my neighborhood. I know both the applicant and the appellant. And I wanted to say, I think staff did an excellent job in the report, not just what they prepared, but in evaluating this appeal. I don't need to tell you, it's been an excruciating process from getting to an EIR, getting to a program, going through these appendices. But this is what we have. I was particularly impressed with the response to BLM, which I think some of their comments were mistaken about the applicant. I think, in fact, at least the visual comment BLM had that there was grading on the top of a hill refers actually to the appellant and not the applicant's property. There's a ridge running north and south that divides Indian Creek drainage from Reading Creek. And the applicant is on the western side of that ridge. Indian Creek's on the eastern side. I'm on the eastern side. I can look from my property and see that ridge line. It's not possible to see the applicant's property from the Indian Creek drainage. It's on the other side of a ridge. And it really, you don't even see it from Indian Creek Road. So that it has passed Appendix C, that we have it well outlined how it passed and why it passed, I think we ought to let this license proceed. What seems to me the basis of this appeal is really issues amongst neighbors that ought to be worked out. It probably has more to do with a shared driveway than it does with actual issues related to this applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment from the hall?
Chris Williams, Weaverville. Since I'm here, giving all my sense here. So when you appeal a license, you have to have a reason. We see that there were 6 reasons that were given, and these reasons need to have some sort of, finding behind it. They need to be substantiated, right? So of these 6 reasons, our wonderful Cannabis Division Code Enforcement has found this site to be in fully compliant. And as somebody that works in the industry, this is rare. It's not only rare, or it means they worked hard to be in compliance. So as none of these claims have been substantiated, I feel that you should deny this. Deny the appeal of the license? Yes. And let this license be issued. Thanks.
Thank you. Since there's no more people in the hall to speak, we'll move to Zoom. Yes, is Sky available to speak? Yeah, let's start with him, please.
Skylar?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, commissioners. Thanks for doing this. So basically, let's just address the I think it's Commissioner Hall's question. We had a licensed dwelling. It was the Broadmoor that Joe spoke of. It was underneath the Ramada. It was there for all of the 2020 cultivation year, and then we started the application for a new dwelling in plans to remove the RV and utilize the Ramada as our dry shop, which has all been permitted and it's all on the planning commission's files, etc. So everything has been up to snuff. So there was a dwelling that was legal the entire time. As far as this appeal, the neighbor and I have had points of contention for years in regards to the shared road, the easement that goes through his property onto mine and then on my property up to his cultivation site. Essentially, the owner destroyed our shared road without permission. Never asked me what I wanted to do, who I wanted to hire, if we needed to do anything. Just went ahead and started grading our road without my permission. He did it in the winter so that my tenant that was living there at the time couldn't even drive in and out. So essentially, I had a previous violation from 2016 that I needed to remediate. While he was doing this, I informed him that the CDFW was coming out to inspect the remediation. When I forewarned him that he needed to finish the road, he said, no problem, I'm going to do it. Well, guess what? Fish and Game came out and violated him for working on the road in the winter time. So he blames me and my engineer for all of his problems in life that he created. This is why he is appealing my license. No other reason. As you can see, every single thing that he's brought up is a lie. It's been verified by the county. So I don't really know what to say. It's a bummer to me that this process can be utilized by neighbors to try to settle scores with each other. This is supposed to be about our CEQA and our CEQA only. Everything is compliance. So that being said, I hope that you guys can vote to give us approval and deny his appeal and let us just get on with our lives. And if Burrell has a problem with the road, he can take me to court.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Is there any questions from the commission for Mr. Douglas? If there are no questions, then we'll continue in public comment. Who is next on public comment? Okay. Mr. Hamelstein, go right ahead.
Thank you. The heart of this matter is the water truck deliveries. And I understand the report said, and also Ms. Hedke said, that the Cannabis Division seeks to investigate code complaints in a fair, unbiased manner. And I think both the applicant and the appellant and the public at large and the commission have a right to expect that. And when we examine the investigation, it should appear so. Unfortunately, I have to say, in this case, it does not appear so. And I'd like to explain why. This is not an unfounded complaint. After explaining away everything staff could explain away, they said, well, there's conclusive evidence of 7 water truck deliveries. How do you, applicant, explain those? Not appellant, applicant. They said, we gave them photos and videos, not of 7 water truck deliveries, but of 18 water truck deliveries. Staff chose to ignore 11 of them because they said that the vantage point from which the photos and videos were taken, they couldn't tell for sure that the delivery was going to the applicant's property. It might have gone to the appellant's property. Well, I know this is not a court of law. Generally, they have higher standards of evidence, not lower. But if someone shows you a photo of a truck on a road that could be going to one of 2 properties and they tell you it went to the applicant's property, that is evidence. It should at least prompt staff to ask the applicant, did that truck go to your property? No. They decide for those 11 deliveries, they're not even going to ask the applicant whether those deliveries went to their property. They assume that it went to the appellant's property. It must have been going somewhere. He didn't just dump all that water into the ridge. So there is a thumb on the scale here in favor of the applicant. When you don't even ask, did you get that water and why? Okay. They said that the reason they didn't ask, just because it wasn't conclusive, could have gone to the appellant. The appellants are here today. If you want to ask them, they'll tell you, no, it didn't go to them. The only water truck delivery they've ever had was when they were doing the road grading and they had to spray it down pursuant to regulations to keep all the dust from going everywhere. But other than that, they've got 200,000 gallon water tanks. They put in enough water for 1 acre cultivation. They couldn't get the license. They've got no shortage of water. What they've told you in their appeal is the applicant approached the appellant and asked if they could buy water because they didn't have enough water. Yes, they have tanks. Yes, staff has photographed pipes from the applicant's tanks going from the applicant's well going to the tanks. Did they look and see if any water was flowing through those pipes? The part of the appeal said, yeah, they plumbed it to look like they're getting all the water from the well, but they came and told us they're not getting enough water from the well, which is why they had to have all of these water truck deliveries. Now, of the 11 water truck deliveries staff has chosen to ignore, you've got 7 of them in the month of July alone. These deliveries, these water trucks are 3,750 gallons each. That is 26,250 gallons. Oh, wait, so that's 26,250 gallons of water delivered in 1 month. That's not used to brush your teeth. They said that's not residential usage. There's been no attempt by the staff to look at how much water was delivered. In fact, they seem to not want to know. After first saying they want to get the records and the receipts of the deliveries, which your ordinance says they're supposed to get, they publish a memorandum the other day saying, because the applicant has said they weren't using the water for cultivation, we don't have the right to even ask for the receipts. Is this a fair and unbiased investigation? If you ask the suspect, did you shoot the guy? And he says no, he said, oh, well, game over. I'm not even going to ask to see the receipts. I'm not going to ask. They never called the water truck driver. They know who it is. They've put the identity of it in the report. Did they ever ask the water truck driver, you know, how many deliveries did you make? How many gallons did you deliver? They appear to not want to know. My client, the appellants, they have a fixed security cameras all over the place. And of the deliveries that staff said, yes, this absolutely showed a delivery on the property, most of those were taken from the same fixed position security camera. The appellants have 6 months of videos on hard drive for that camera. They have videos of between 30 and 40 water truck deliveries on those hard drives, which they can present to staff and to the commission. It costs them a lot of money to have a technical person come and extract the ones we presented. We thought 18 would be enough, but they can produce 30 or 40 actual videos of water being delivered to the applicant. Now, as far as the applicant's explanation go, for the 7 that they made the applicant explain, you know, that's in writing. And, you know, staff says, well, they said it was for residential construction and fire suppression. Well, if you look at attachment 9, which is the applicant's email, all that really talks about is to fill their fire suppression tank. How many, they don't need 26,000 of gallons a month to fill a fire suppression tank. And if there's been no fire, why do they need 18 deliveries to keep refilling the fire suppression tank? You fill it once, you leave it, you're supposed to leave it there. And you know, it's supposed to be there in case of a fire, 2,700 gallons. How big are their tanks? They're about 4,000 gallons, 5,000 gallons. They don't need, you know, 50,000 gallons of water to fill one of those once and leave it, which is all they were supposed to do for fire suppression. So we think there's been definitely a blind eye turned here. Now there's unfortunately additional evidence of bias here. I'm sorry, I know this is uncomfortable. Commission may not want to hear this. I wonder if I could have permission to share my screen here. There is...
You have a minute and a half left of your 10-minute presentation.
Okay, well, I apologize then. When they went to turn in the video, the appellants of all these water deliveries, staff, Mr. Plabani, tried to talk them out of leaving it. He didn't want it. He threatened them basically if they gave it to them, he was going to try and find some problem with their license. And in fact, on December 1st, they got this notice of SNAP inspection, which you're seeing here, copied to 10 state officials, 3 from the Water Board, 2 from Cannabis Control, 2 from CDFA, 3 from Wildlife, saying they're going to come inspect, and if you don't let it do it, we're going to take away your license. And these state officials found nothing. My clients were in complete compliance. They wondered what they were doing there. This was the retaliation that they were told was going to happen if they pursued this appeal. This is it in writing. Did they bring all these water board employees to go look at the applicant's property after all this concrete evidence of these water truck deliveries in these volumes they're unable to explain? No. That is, if that's not a thumb on the scale, I'm not sure what is. And we would like 2 weeks to submit additional video of, 30 to 40 total water truck deliveries. You can actually watch it happen and you can add up those
Thank
gallons.
you, Mr. Hamilstein.
Okay.
Is there any more public comment on Zoom?
Mr. Himmelstein, can you put your share screen down, please?
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
Okay.
When I shared it, I lost the main screen, and you know how it is with Zoom.
Can we move on with the
So-
conversation while he figures
at
that
the-
out?
Stop
Look at
share.
the bottom
There we are.
taskbar, yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Veronica Kelly Albies.
Good evening, Veronica Kelly Albies at Douglas City. It is starting to emerge as a trend that when an appeal of any sort is brought before the Planning Commission with photos, video, things that would be concrete evidence in most cases, are considered lower priority than staff going out there. Staff is very busy. And what you're seeing a trend of is when a complaint is made.
Is the water truck guy there?
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, somebody else is
Yes,
speaking.
yes, proceed. I apologize.
No problem. In that, because staff is not able to make a timely inspection, they're able to come back and say, we didn't see it. And what I'm hearing on this particular case, a lot of things they're moving towards their compliance, which is amazing, but a lot of it is coming after the complaints and inspections. DCC is even involved and brought photos. And, we are encouraged, if there is somebody out there doing something incorrect, to report it. Complaints are made, photos are taken to assist staff. But they continue to be discounted for some reason, and I'm not sure why. That is, I don't know these applicants. I don't know the gentleman that just spoke, but he seems to have a lot of evidence that is being disregarded for some reason. And I don't know why. Is staff too busy to look through them? And I'm not critiquing staff because I know the workload that they have. But a lot of the things that Ms. Hedke brought up, all the 6 items, some of them I heard afterwards, they're getting compliant. They're getting compliant. And our ordinance says they must be compliant. And I think we want to be careful about, leaning into, they're getting compliant as opposed to what are our ordinances? What are they supposed to do? Did they mess up? That's fine. I mean, people mess up. Things happen. Was it compliant? Stop sugarcoating. They were not in compliance, but they got their 7 days. They got in compliance. Let's start reporting it, I believe, as it should be. But I don't think we should be discounting what the county and the residents are doing for staff, which is supporting their complaints with video and photos, which are time-stamped. And, the water truck issue, water is the big issue when it comes to these kind of complaints and appeals. You really need to start taking a look at what our ordinance says and support that. We don't want to stop legal cannabis cultivation from happening. What we do want to do is what the ordinances are designed to do, which is to protect all of Trinity County. And I encourage you to follow the law of Trinity County and look at those things. And please stop discounting when people bring
Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Alves.
Darren Wright.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Darren Wright. I'm here representing Skylar Douglas and CBMC Consulting. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay. I'd like to address some of the issues brought up by the appellant. The key issue in this case is you've got and you've seen this from the back and forth between the parties. There's been an ongoing civil dispute between these parties over this road issue. It happened a few years ago. I was involved at that point. We were considering filing a civil lawsuit at that point. Skylar chose not to do so or to try to work with his neighbor. The neighbor has never given up on that. And what you see in this case is he's taken this process where the license has been complied with, all the applications been complied with.
everything's been done, and now the appellant is trying to use this process, which is the improper venue, to argue the civil dispute that he has with his neighbor. He's made allegations that have been proven to be completely false with respect to the road maintenance. The notice of violations were on him, not on my client's property. There's been no evidence of unlicensed cannabis cultivation. The dwelling unit issue completely has been proven to be false. He's got what he needs to have. He had what he needed to have in 2020, and when it was asked about. And you go on and on. Everything here, he's just throwing things at the wall to try to do anything to mess with his neighbor and try to hold him up from getting a license when he already has his. It's a classic case of, if you want to have a civil dispute, let's go to court and we'll argue over the road issue. But this is not the place to be arguing over all those particular things. He has his proper well. Everything's been approved by the county. It's been inspected more than once. In fact, it's inspected twice, and both times been found to be in full compliance. As to, even such things as he argued that there was a problem with the electrical amp. I mean, just ridiculous things that have been proven to be false. So it really comes down to, the final thing they're throwing the mud is this water truck issue. The county's determined that, hey, they can take deliveries for residential and construction use and fire. That's what my clients have indicated they had the deliveries for. They also addressed the fact that they're claiming that there was all these other deliveries, and they have video. They've had months to submit anything in support of their appeal. What they've submitted has not been upheld by the county in any way. And I think giving them any more time to submit more would be ridiculous at this stage.
Thank you, Darren.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
Yes, you have 3 minutes for public comment. So,
okay,
thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Is there any more public comment from Zoom?
Zeph Foster.
Hey, you guys see me?
Yeah, Zeph, go
okay.
Right ahead.
How's it going? My name is Zeph Foster. I'm the owner and the operator of DC Water Company. So unfortunately, I'm hearing my name brought up, me being brought up a lot. Just figured I'd clarify on this. So Skylar had called me for water deliveries. I'd say a total of 4 or 5 times. 2 were residential because they had no water for showers, toilet, things like that. 3 of those 5 were for fire suppression because they just need to have their tanks. Now, what's not being brought up is that I am Skylar's immediate neighbor. I live less than a quarter mile away. If you go up my road, he's the next driveway up. Skylar's got about 25,000 gallons of storage. And for me, I'm constantly, in fact, today at 4 p.m., doing deliveries where my customer will only take 2,500 gallons or 3,000 gallons. And what that often does is sends me home with 500 or 1,000 gallons left in the tank. Well, with it being a sensitive subject to be wasting water, 1, I can't leave that in my tank. It's going to rust. 2, I don't want to just be dumping it out because 1, that looks bad on me for PR relations. And then on top of that, it's just not good to be wasting the water. So what I would often do is go up to his house and just drop off the remaining 500 gallons or whatever it was. 1, it's kind of, he's a neighbor. I like him. He's a good guy. It's a good way for me to just get rid of it without wasting it. And unfortunately, it's kind of turned into a no good deed goes unpunished. But I definitely wanted to weigh in. I'm not hiding on any of this. It's just, this is just a matter of the fact, and I didn't know much about this until right now. I've kind of been in the dark. But I felt it was fair to weigh in that, no, these guys are not getting 4,000 gallons every time I'd go. In fact, there was times I'd just roll in there, whether I was even working in the area, stop by to visit. You'll see me go on my pickup truck, on my dirt bike. They're just neighbors that I figured, hey, why not give them the residual amount of water, and therefore I'm not wasting it nor rusting out my tank.
Thank you, Zeph. Is there any more public comment?
Jess Gregory.
Jess, go right ahead.
Yes, my name is Jess Gregory. I own Gregory Engineering,
and I am the licensed civil engineer.
We're having a hard time hearing you. We're not able to hear you, Jess. So please have patience with us. Maybe you're gonna not be stalled.
You might turn off your video and just use your audio so that it doesn't freeze.
What we're gonna do, Jess, is we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next person. You can go ahead, turn off your video, and by the time we get back to you, hopefully you will be able to communicate with us. Let's move on to the next public comment.
Dana Hauser.
Hi,
Dana, are you there?
Commissioner. I am. Thanks, Commissioner McIntosh. Dana Hauser from Hayfork. I think it's a shame to see appeal against another cultivator. I know that that's not the point of this process. I really hope it doesn't become a new norm. I hope that the recommendation is taken from the planning cannabis staff that this license is issued. And that is my request. And I really hope that this does not become a neighbor dispute, does not become the norm. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hauser.
Okay, it's okay. You'll figure it out. John Brower.
John
Good evening,
Brower,
Commissioners.
are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Yeah. I want to encourage the approval of this project and the denial of the appeal. I think staff did do a good job in their staff report. It's a very thorough report, and the response to BLM and the interactions with the water board. Good job, staff. I think it's important to support staff's determinations, and barring any other hard evidence, it seems that this applicant, while may have neighbor issues with the neighbor, he has met the requirements of the license. So I want to encourage denial of this appeal and let these guys get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brower.
I don't think we got Jess back on. I think he must have had trouble. I
Mhm.
don't see him.
I think it was internet issues, most likely.
Yeah. Is there any more public comments? Okay. If there is no more public comments, we're going to close public comments and bring it back to the commission. Is there a motion on the commission before discussion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to deny the appeal and to approve the license to move forward.
Pretty wordy with that. Oh.
I'll second that.
Okay. There is a motion and a second to grant the staff recommendations to deny the appeal and approve the application. Now we can have discussion. Is there any discussion we'd like to humor?
So, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Fall.
So I do want to thank the staff. It is a very thorough staff report, and I appreciate that. But I do tend to agree that this is giving the applicant all the benefit of the doubt, and just pretty much discounting everything that the appellant has said. I am concerned about potential water deliveries. Reading from the staff report, it says, in order for staff to enforce this requirement, staff would need the availability and authority to track and follow a water truck to the licensed cultivation site. This has been difficult to perform given historic low staffing. Furthermore, in the code, requires 24-hour notice for site inspection, restricts staff ability to witness water hauling. So they're saying right off the bat that they can't really verify whether or not water trucks delivered water. They just don't have the staff. And so again, I don't know why the appellant's comments and evidence that they provided is so thoroughly discounted. So that is very concerning to me. And that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Ms. Fall.
Well, I think the Appendix C has been passed. The CEQA has been passed. He has been found to be in compliance. All the checks and balances check out in favor. The information provided that we have been given is not enough, in my opinion, to take away this person's ability to provide for his family. He has passed every inspection. The only infraction I see in this is actually from the appellant. I don't see it. And I don't want to be involved in a Hatfield and McCoy standoff. This is a civil matter and should not be here in front of the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Commissioner Barrett. Commissioner. If you would like to respond, you may, please. Thank you.
I just want to clarify that it is clear that staff found and confirmed that they were hauling water. And this code section has been historically very difficult to enforce. And not only for those purposes, but it's worded in a confusing way. And that goes for a lot of what's in the ordinance. And that takes a lot of time to try to interpret how to interpret it and then how to enforce it. And we had to give the benefit of the doubt there. I'm not trying to show bias in any project that I ever do. Because my job is to enforce the code that's there. It's not to show it one way or another. And I end on, if the commission is not pleased with the way that this code section was investigated, I am open to guidance and clarification on how to properly investigate this. I am not a professional investigator. I am a code compliance inspector or specialist. So I do just want to put that out there. If there's a better way to do it, I want to do it.
Thank you, Ms. Hedke.
I think your presentation was excellent. I think your package you provided for us today covered all the pertinent points. I think you did an outstanding job.
I could second that, what you said there, Mr. Barrett. One of the thoughts, though, that has come to my mind, that when the gentleman who was I don't even know his name. He was the one who was presenting for the appellant. And he made a comment about one of our staff said that don't pursue it unless you're gonna cause some problems. It's like, that don't sound good. And I don't know if there's any truth, because he just showed the letter that he got where they're going to get an inspection. I don't know. But it's like, that's not good if that is happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's in fact really low down, but that's neither here nor there. But one of the things is that I personally thought was, I appreciated Mr. Foster's clarifying the fact, because it's like, if he has a water delivery system and it's just on the other side, that brings a whole lot of clarity. You might say clarity might be the thing, but also it also is the thing. It's like, well, if he's always driving past these video cameras, it would prove to the fact that it is there's a water truck going in and out. And if he's dropping off 500 gallons because he doesn't want to waste it, you know what? It's like, I have to agree with it. It's like better put it there than dump it out on the ground. But I don't know. I think that it was okay. I'll just cut through the chase and I'll say what I want to say.
Just cut through it, man.
I'll just
get it.
We live in an unprecedented time. And I'll tell you something. This is for the appellant, the applicant. It's like this for everybody. It's like you need to be friends with your neighbors. Because I'll tell you what, when the fire happened, the August complex fire happened in Ruth, it was our neighbors who came through for us. It was our neighbors. I tell you what, it was like if we had neighbors treating each other like they would want to be treated, it talks about that in the Bible. I tell you what, that would solve a lot of our problems if we had each other loving our neighbors like Jesus said in the Bible as he loves us and as you love yourself. That would take care of a lot of our problems. And I tell you what, if anything, I would give it if y'all could bury the hatchet and get on and be neighborly, because I tell you what, if a fire comes, you're going to want your neighbor to be helping you. That's just the truth of the matter. Because it's like, if you don't have your neighbor in a tight spot, you're screwed. And so it's like, I wish the neighbors could just get together and work it out and say, you know what, let's bury the thing and let's get on. And it's like, I'll help you, you help me. It's like, we can work through this beautiful thing. It's like, it would save a lot of problems coming to the commission. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Barrett. Heaton. So my take on it is that there is a plethora of accusations. The appellant only addressed one of the accusations, an accusation about road maintenance, an accusation about cultivating without a license, an accusation about illegal dwelling, an accusation about water, power, and apparently all these accusations, minus the one that they're really sticking on, have been found untrue. Untrue. And so if someone who is presenting untrue information has photographs of what they are accusing is of water deliveries or whatever it may be, I take that into consideration. So I don't like to see false accusations brought before the commission. This is not the place for civil unrest. This, in my opinion, is a complete waste of time for a staff that is already overburdened. And so because of false accusations, any accusation of the water is taken with a grain of salt, to say the least.
Absolutely.
That's all I have to say about that.
Vote.
Are you ready for a roll call?
Yeah, let's bring it to a roll call.
Commissioner Heaton, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I to approve the appeal, just for clarity.
Yes.
So let's actually, I apologize, as the chair, I'd like clarity on what we are voting on, the terminology of what we are voting on. So there's clarity. Sometimes the appeal and the applicant, it can be confusing. So just for clarity, can you please read it? I apologize for stopping this in the middle.
I believe the motion was to deny the appeal.
Yes. The motion was to deny the appeal. Yes.
Commissioner Barrett requested that the commission deny the appeal and approve the director's decision to approve CCL 651.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Commissioner Heaton, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fall, how do you vote?
No.
Commissioner McIntosh, how do you vote?
Aye.
We have 3-1 to deny the appeal and approve the licensing of CCL 651. Thank you.
I apologize for my confusion during the vote.
Should.
Okay, moving on to item 5, annual initial variance request, CCV-22-44, an application request to reduce the required 350-foot commercial cannabis cultivation setback from neighboring residential dwellings pursuant to Trinity County Code Section 17.43.050A8. The project is located at 731 top of the grade, Douglas City, APN 025-530-037. Applicant P. Feng. Planner Fisher.
Thank you, Planning Chair, Commissioners, and members of the public. My name is Skylar Fisher, and I'm going to speak to item 5, CCV 2244. As you can see in your staff packet, both variances are being requested to be continued to the January 12th, 2022 meeting. I just wanted to give some background as to why that is. The explanation is for additional time to review. So at the last Planning Commission meeting, there was discussion on the sequence of events of processing both the CCL, or I should say the CCL, the Appendix C, and the CCV, and kind of like how they're all processed in relation to each other. And around that same time, staff was having the same type of internal discussion, because the whole point of the Appendix C process is to make sure that we're scoping in all of the impacts of the cultivation, and that includes the CCV. So up until this point, what we've done is we've held off noticing the Appendix C and the license until we can confirm that the variance can be granted. So that was the environmental findings were saying, okay, we understand that this variance will be for a license which is dependent on an approved Appendix C. But going forward, what we want to do is we want to say, okay, we're approving the Appendix C first, so we're already scoping in, like we're showing that all this environmental review has been approved and has been noticed. And I underestimated the amount of time it would take me to review and just completely digest Appendix C documents before bringing them to you. So while environmental review or environmental compliance staff have done their own review and have recommended these CCVs to go ahead of you, when I bring an item and I describe it to you, I want to make sure that I can describe it and I can point out what's going on here and not just say, well, environmental compliance says the Appendix C is good. And because of that, I'm requesting a little bit more time to do that for both of these variances. So that is why for item 5, I am requesting a continuance to the January 12th meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schuyler. Is there any questions for staff? If there are no questions for staff, we'll open up to public comment. Any public comment on Zoom? Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission. Do we have a motion on the table?
Make a motion to postpone this to the, push it back to the January 12th meeting.
I will second that. Any discussion? Let's bring it to a roll call, please.
Commissioner Fall just popped in.
Ms. Commissioner Fall, do you have something you'd like to add?
Nope.
Vice Chair McIntosh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Heaton, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fall, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, then we have 4-0 to continue this item into the January 12th, 2023 meeting.
Okay, let's move on to item number 6, item annual initial variance request, CCV 22-46, an application request to reduce the required 350-foot commercial cannabis cultivation setback from neighboring residential dwellings pursuant to Trinity County Code Section 17.43.050A8. The project site is located on 411 North Meadow Lane, Hayfork, APN 015-420-033. The applicant is R. Lukova. Planner Fisher, please provide us with some insight.
Thank you, Planning Chair, Commissioners, and members of the public. My name is Skylar Fisher, Associate Planner with the Planning Department, and I'm going to speak to Agenda Item 6, CCB 2246. If the Planning Commission is okay with it, I won't go over the same spiel I just did on the last item, and I'll cut it short and recommend, for the same reasons for the previous item, that CCV 2246 be continued to the January 12th, 2023 Planning Commission hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Skylar. Is there any questions for staff? If there is not, we will bring it to public comment. Is there any public comment within the hall? Is there any public comment via Zoom? If not, we will bring it back to the commission for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we postpone this to the January 12th, 2022 meeting.
23?
What'd I say?
23?
Okay, yeah, 2023.
I will second that motion.
Well, it says 2022 on my deal.
Calling out staff.
That's why I got all confused.
Is there any discussion for this before we bring it to a roll call? Okay, let's bring this to a vote.
Vice Chair McIntosh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Heaton, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fall, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. 4-0. To bring this item back to the Planning Commission meeting on January 12th, 2023.
Okay, moving forward to Planning Commission reports. Is there any reports from my fellow planning commissioners?
I have a report.
Go right ahead, Commissioner Fall.
Thank you. So in response to Mr. White's comment at the beginning of the meeting, I had emailed Mr. Presley and Ms. Fisher following the earlier meeting to ask what the process was from, our last decision moving forward, whether or not it would come back before the commission. I hadn't really gotten a clear answer whether or not it comes back to the commission or whether or not it's strictly a staff review. But it does sound like Mr. White is planning to continue to make presentations to the commission. So he had emailed my personal email with questions and comments. So I just wanted to let you know that I will be forwarding all of those emails to Mr. Presley to distribute to my fellow commissioners so that we're all on the same page. So expect to get some emails about that issue. The second thing I wanted to bring up is I actually read the public notices that are in the newspaper, in the Trinity Journal. And it's been a recent concern of mine. There was an error in the Ryan rezone public notice where it said that we had included that amended mitigation measure, which required the more stringent tire washing. So I emailed the staff and they did correct that when they made the presentation to the Board of Supervisors, which I appreciate. More recently, the one of the APNs for the CCL licenses was incorrect. I checked the ones that are in my district, District 1, and that was the wrong APN. So again, that one was corrected. It was re-noticed this week, but I'm just concerned that I'm finding these errors. You know, I don't know who else reads all the public notices in detail, you know, who has that quirk, but it's been a little sloppy, and I really would hope, and I understand the staff is just inundated with stuff, but I would really hope that the administrative review of those would tighten up in the future. That would be greatly appreciated. And the last thing I had is, I'm just curious. So when I was trying to figure out the correct APN number, I got an email back from Interim Director Presley that Mr. Connell was no longer with the cannabis division. He was no longer with the county. So I'm not seeing that there's a job posting on the Human Resources website at the county. So I'm wondering, what is the status of the director of the cannabis division?
Can staff provide some direction on that or clarity?
Is Drew still online? Drew Poblani
I
is
am.
the acting division director. There you go.
Yeah, I'd be happy to respond. To my knowledge, when I reached out to HR in terms of understanding the policy of how to communicate resignations to the public, what was conveyed to me was that we would need a formal notification from Director Presley to staff in that regard. And since Director Presley has been out of the office since Thanksgiving, that hasn't happened. I think that's as much as I can offer. Thank you.
Well, thank you. He had emailed me that Mr. Connell was no longer with the county. So, okay. So I would appreciate maybe next month an update on kind of where we're headed as far as replacing that position as head of the cannabis division. So thank you.
Is there any other Planning Commission reports? Okay, if there's no more commissioners' reports, we'll move to Planning Director's reports.
I am not, but at the last meeting, one of the CCVs that was discussed, the cultivation that was off the Van Dusen River and that like kind of funky shaped parcel, there was a request by the Planning Commission to for staff to determine whether or not there was any concern or potential for, I think, like runoff from the cultivation site into the river or even potentially in the floodplain. So there was a staff review by planning environmental compliance staff, our staff member that handles our floodplain review and basically executes the flood like hazard ordinance, and the cannabis environmental compliance staff review. And they worked together and they found that the cultivation, the canopy area that's like closest to the river and floodplain, they found that there wasn't concern essentially that it would cause contamination or runoff or anything like that. And so there was a memo written, signed by both environmental compliance staff and I believe the acting cannabis director, and that's been added to the license file.
Thank you for that update. I would like to add that I am on a weekly basis seeing notices of new licenses, numerous licenses being noticed, and that is encouraging to see. So I know it's a lot of work. Each project is very detailed. So Thank you. Keep up the good work. Okay. Commissioners, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.